Hello everybody, this is Mr. Lawback. I hope you're doing great. In this video, I'm going to go over the process of how a bill becomes a law beginning in Congress. Now here's a very basic look at the process. We're going to go into more detail. But a bill is introduced, goes through both chambers of Congress, then it goes to the president's desk, and if the president signs it, the bill then becomes a law. So that is a quick basic look. Before we go into more depth, let's go over a couple of things that I think are very important up front. So first, what is a bill? A bill, simply put, is a proposed law. Bills can be written or drafted by anyone, but they must be officially submitted to Congress by an elected member of Congress, either in the House or the Senate. The member of Congress that submits the bill is called the sponsor. A bill can sometimes have multiple sponsors, referred to as co-sponsors. When a bill is submitted, it is given a number and a title. If it is submitted to the House of Reps, it is given the title HR and then whatever number it was that was submitted. If it is submitted to the Senate, it is given S and then whatever number. Now, there are two basic types of bills. There are other types of bills and resolutions, but we're just going to focus on these two main types. A public bill applies to the whole country and everyone must follow it. A private bill applies to only certain places or people. So as an example, if there was a law that only applied to a specific type of farmer or law enforcement people or teachers, that would be considered a private bill. Now, very important, all bills dealing with taxes or raising revenue must begin in the House of Reps. This is in the Constitution. Any other type of bill can either start in the House or the Senate, depending on who sponsors it. Most bills do not become laws. Usually, only around 5% of all bills that are submitted actually end up becoming laws. The framers wanted to make the lawmaking process as difficult as possible because they did not want it to be easy for a bill to become a law. Generally speaking, they thought the fewer laws, the better. Now, it is impossible to talk about a bill becoming a law without discussing congressional committees. There are different types of committees. If you are a member of Congress, you get assigned to a committee that you spend most of your time in Congress working on. Woodrow Wilson famously said something along the lines of, "Congress in committee is Congress at work." Committees are very instrumental in Congress handling its business. So there are three basic types of committee. There's a standing committee. Now, these are permanent committees in each chamber that meet regularly and are based on subject matter. You can see here, this is a look at the standing committees from a past Congress. As you can see there, according to subject matter, agriculture, appropriations, armed forces, budget, education and workforce, and so on. Also, you can see that at the time, the Republicans were the majority party in Congress, and because of that, all of the chairpersons for each of the committees in the House were Republicans. So standing committees are made up exclusively of House members or exclusively of Senate members. Now, there's also a joint committee. Joint committees are made up of members of both the House and the Senate. A select committee, sometimes called a special committee, are made up of appointed members to perform a special function that is beyond the authority or capacity of a standing committee. These can also be joint committees, and most often they are very temporary. Now we're going to take a closer look at how a bill becomes a law using this flow chart. So as we mentioned earlier, a bill is a proposed law and must be submitted by either a House or a Senate member. For our purposes here, we are going to say that this is a tax bill, so it must be submitted to the House of Reps. Once it is submitted, it is assigned the title HR and then the number of the bill. It is assigned by party leadership led by the Speaker of the House to the appropriate committee. This would be a standing committee, and oftentimes within that committee, it will then be referred to a subcommittee. But the committee as a whole studies the bill, meaning they look over it, they read over it, they might hold hearings, they might revise or amend it, or they might pigeonhole it, which means that they might just ignore it. Now, if the bill is fortunate enough to get out of the committee in the House, it would then go to the Rules Committee, and the Rules Committee is unique to the House. The Rules Committee sets the conditions for debate and amendments being added on the floor. The Rules Committee is very powerful. Once it is out of the Rules Committee, it then goes to the full floor, all 435 members, and the bill is debated and voted on. Now remember, at any point, a bill can die or be pigeonholed, meaning that it does not proceed. So if it passes through the House, it then goes to the Senate and follows a very similar path with some important differences. First, it is assigned by Senate leadership to the appropriate committee. The committee studies the bill, holds hearings about the bill, might revise it, and at any point here, the bill can be changed by the committee. If it is then voted out of the committee, it then goes to floor action. Now, you will note that in the Senate, there is not a rules committee, so it goes directly to floor action. There are a lot less rules of debate and parliamentary rules in the Senate than there are in the House. So, floor action. The bill is debated and voted on. If it passes, this means that it has passed through both chambers. Now, inevitably, when the bill goes through the House of Reps, it is changed, and then when it goes through the Senate, it is changed again. In order for a bill to go to the president's desk, it must be in the exact same form. That is where this conference committee comes in. It is made up of House and Senate members, and usually the sponsors of the bill are included, and they resolve any differences between the House and the Senate version of the bill. After that, it then quickly goes back to the House and the Senate for a final vote and approval so it can go to the president's desk. Now, once again, remember that any point along the way, a bill can die or be pigeonholed. So once a bill has made it through Congress, it goes to the president's desk. The Constitution states 4 things that could happen once a bill is on the president's desk. The president may sign it into law. The president may veto the bill. It would then return to Congress, and if it passes through both chambers at a 2/3 majority, it would then become a law over the president's veto. This rarely happens. When the president vetoes a bill, it usually then dies. The president may allow the bill to become a law by not signing it within 10 days of receiving it. So this is a political measure that a president can take. If the president doesn't sign it or officially endorse it, the bill will automatically become a law after 10 days. So you can kind of brainstorm on what some of the reasons that a president might ignore a bill instead of signing it, knowing full well ignoring it would mean it becomes a law. The president may also pocket veto. This means if Congress adjourns its session within 10 days of submitting a bill to the president, and the president does not act on it within that amount of time, the measure automatically dies. Now, also important to note that through this entire legislative process, the president is constantly communicating with Congress, letting them know what bills they might veto or what bills they might support. Also, the Senate and House leadership are constantly communicating with each other about bills. Now, sometimes a bill will go through the House and then go through the Senate. Sometimes, depending on what type of bill it is, it might start in the Senate and then go to the House. And sometimes a bill will travel simultaneously through the House and the Senate. So that is kind of a detailed look at how a bill becomes a law. Now, what are some big takeaways? Remember, most bills do not become laws. It is very difficult for a bill to become a law, and the framers made it that way on purpose. A law being made is an example of checks and balances because the legislative branch and the executive branch must cooperate in order for a bill to become a law. Now, further checks and balances, the judicial branch can strike down a law that is passed by Congress and signed by the president for being unconstitutional. But generally speaking, compromise between the executive branch and the legislative branch is crucial in order for bills to become laws. Now, the majority party in both chambers is enormously important in the lawmaking process. As it stands right now, the majority party in the House and the Senate is the Democratic Party. And of course, our president is a Democrat. So in theory, the Democrats should have quite an advantage in the whole lawmaking process. So I hope this overview on how a bill becomes a law was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions.